Just want to check things out. Things sound alright. Oh, I'm forgetting the pop filter. Hold up. Yeah, have y'all getting at me for the pop filter? Okay, 1 second, and we're gonna get right in there. I should really never take this thing off, but it's just so annoying sometimes. Just make sure things sound okay. I feel like they do. All right, bet. Okay, so I know the next stream in line should be the paladin druid healer breakdown, but and that's coming. Actually, just a quick tidbit. My goal for this week, because it's leading up to Season of Discovery, is to kind of do a stream every single day, or at least a format of content every single day, whether it be a stream, video, something, just leading up to it, kind of build the excitement, right? But today I'm taking a break from doing breakdowns to talk about some of the concerns that I see coming from, friends, content developers, in regards to Season of Discovery. And the reason why I titled it, Concerns Surrounding Season of Discovery, Did Blizzard Go Too Far, is not that all of them are, my concerns. I don't share some of the same concerns that I've heard other content creators put out there. But I do have my own concerns that I'll, briefly go through here. And second part is, did Blizzard go too far? And I think one of the major concerns, we'll jump right in. One of the major concerns that I see about Season of Discovery is that, yeah, some of the ideas are cool and all, but it doesn't feel like vanilla anymore. It doesn't feel like classic anymore. They've lost their identity, and all of these changes just make vanilla just feel more like retail. And that sentiment I can understand. I don't necessarily agree with, but I can understand it, right? Because for the most part, everyone has their own. They have their own version of what vanilla is supposed to be. Like, some people say, oh, vanilla was the most difficult time in raiding, or time in WoW's lifespan, because of how hard raiding was and stuff like that. But I think those kind of words and that kind of stuff kind of got diminished once Classic came out in 2019, right? That kind of thing kind of went away once people were killing Mo and Core in 45 minutes, right? When you're sliding through Blackwing Lair in an hour. So I think those kind of sentiments quickly got disproven, that vanilla had the hardest form of raiding. Now, that's from a more mechanic side. From the other side, like the logistics side, it might have been hard getting 40 people on the same schedule. Like, I can only imagine being a raid leader or an officer in that type of format. Oh, hold on. I'm getting baby aggro. I can hear my youngest son. 1 second. I'm going to put up the beat right back, and I'll jump back in. My apologies. But anyway, I think the sentiment of vanilla having the hardest form of raiding is kind of over. I think The difficulty was the planning, both in raid and outside of raid, right? Getting 40 people on the same schedule is a pretty big task when you're talking about 40 strangers. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the officer corps knew each other. You know, that's maybe 4 or 5 people, but you still got to get 35 other people that you don't know to play together and work together as a unit and kill the things that you want to kill. So maybe on that side of things, vanilla was difficult, but it wasn't really difficult. Those things kind of got dispelled. But that feel of vanilla is really why people keep returning to it, right? Getting the attunements, getting 40-man rating, knowing the little tricks in the ins and out and stuff like that. Pardon me. And, you know, mostly not having every single class viable, right? I think it's no secret now that Warrior was, you know, the best class for vanilla because it was the best tank. It was the top DPS. It was great in PvP. Like, it was just all around great. So when you lose or you change the dynamic of those things, like what Season of Mastery has done, it can be a little jarring. And I think a lot of these sentiments didn't come out of nowhere. I think these sentiments started to bubble because of some of the runes that we see. And a lot of them are familiar abilities that if you've been playing WoW for some time, you've seen before. We've seen Power Word Barrier before. We've seen Warbringer before. We've seen, you know, not this version, but we've seen Metamorphosis before. So some of the abilities are for the most part, abilities that you've seen before, that you've experienced. And it's not unfamiliar territory. Some of them are new, like the Homunculi one for Shadow Priest. Like that's pretty much new. But most of the runes are not unfamiliar territory. So when you have vanilla, but you have abilities that came in future expansions, I can understand the sentiment of this is starting to feel like retail. Even though I will say that Blizzard hasn't changed anything when it came to talent trees. They haven't changed anything when it came to the way abilities do damage and scale. Like, they didn't buff Shadow Bolt damage by 10%, right? They haven't done any of that stuff. They haven't done any class tuning. They haven't done any talent tuning. They haven't done any ability tuning. None of that stuff. So I think that part is still staying true to Classic. I think what you know about your class is still going to have, you know, merit when Season of Discovery comes out. And the reason why I picked the thumbnail that I did pick was because I think Season of Discovery is getting compared a lot to other iterations, like community-driven forms of WoW, like Turtle WoW, like Project Ascension. And I think those comparisons are fair, but I also think it's unfair to say, did Blizzard go too far? Blizzard's losing the essence of the game with this, that, and the third, and condemned Season of Discovery, but praise the other versions of vanilla that exist out there for doing the exact same thing, maybe more, maybe less. In Project Ascension's case, it's on the TBC realm track, right? But if you've ever played Project Ascension, now obviously I played it before. I can't show it here, obviously on YouTube, but I can show like the website and stuff like that. But there's very limited things you can show about Project Ascension. But if you've played it, you really understand that, yeah, it's WoW, but really it's like a WoW skin over a different game completely. Like, it has all the zones that we know. It has Outland, has, you know, Eastern Kingdoms, has Kalimdor. It has the classes that we know. It has the talent points that we know, some of them anyway. A lot of them are changed just to fit what Project Ascension does. But it's not unfamiliar territory completely. But it is, by and large, a completely different game from any iteration of WoW that exists, whether it be a Dragonflight, Wrath, Hardcore, Classic Era servers. Project Ascension's completely, by and large, different. And it has a large following. And I don't think I hear people condemn Project Ascension for doing what they do. Same thing with Turtle WoW. Turtle WoW is much more true to the source material, right? It doesn't have these wild changes that Project Ascension does, but it still changes. And actually, I have the talent tree up here from the classic, from Season Discovery, and then one from Turtle WoW, which we'll go through. And the changes in Turtle WoW, I think I heard Solheim Gaming say this when I watched his video. I do like Solheim. He does cover a lot of Turtle WoW. He covers a lot of like the off-brand WoW stuff, and I like his material. But when he did a video on his concerns about Season Discovery, he said a lot of the things that he feels Blizzard did lost the class identity of vanilla, like adding an interrupt, and not everybody can interrupt, everyone can stun. Like when that used to be like a rogue thing, everyone can do high single target damage. That used to be a warlock or a mage thing. Everyone can do AOE damage. Like, and I had to step back and see if I disagreed or agree with him. And honestly, I think I disagree. I don't think adding, like, just because druids get skull bash doesn't mean that they lose their class identity of the shapeshifter. You know what I mean? Just because warriors can use Warbringer, they can charge in combat, I don't think that loses any of the class identity, especially since a lot of the powers that they're getting comes from future iterations of the class, right? It's not like warriors getting Avenging Wrath, right? They're not, getting a holy damage increase, right? So I don't think adding utility or changing a damage profile changes the class identity. And I know class identity is different for everyone. Like, what you think class identity means, or what I think it means, or what Blizzard think it means, and really, it really matters what Blizzard thinks, because that it's their IP. So whatever they feel their class identity is probably what it is. But people are going to have a difference of opinion. I personally don't think adding utility or changing a damage profile changes the class utility as a whole. That's just my personal opinion. So that was one thing about his video that I kind of disagreed with. The second thing was because he did bring up Turtle WoW, and he briefly mentioned Project Ascension. He said Turtle WoW had not as many changes as Season of Discovery. And I don't think that's true, to be quite honest, because once again, Season of Discovery didn't change any talents in the talent trees. They didn't add any new abilities outside of the season rune, like the runes. Like, we'll talk, the runes are technical abilities, I guess, but they didn't add any baseline abilities that doesn't come from the runes. They didn't do any class or spec or ability tuning. Like I said before, we don't have a 10% buff on Shadow Bolt. We don't have a 10% buff on Frostbolt. Like, none of that stuff has happened yet, knock on wood. And I think that's not going to happen because they didn't do any PTR testing. There's no way to gauge any of that. So I don't think that's coming at all anyway. But when you look at Turtle WoW, off the rip, you can see the changes that they've done in the talent trees. So I think I could do it side by side, but this is the protection. Let's just look at Paladin. This is the Paladin tree for Season of Discovery, right? It's the same talents that we've seen in 2019, in Classic Era, in Hardcore. It's the same talents. Nothing has changed, right? At the bottom of the talent tree is Holy Shield. At the bottom of the Holy Tree is Holy Shock. And at the bottom of the Ret tree is Repentance. But if you look at Turtle WoW, the bottom of the Prot tree is Ardent Defender, right? They get Holy Shield as a means to get Ardent Defender. Kings is not in the protection tree; it's in the Ret tree, right? So there are already changes that have been made that play a big effect in WoW. Like, this isn't the same WoW immediately just by those two small changes. If we look at like Druid, if it's gonna load up, I don't think it's gonna load for me. Let me see. Come on, Turtle WoW, load up for me. But I was just saying that I don't think that those changes. I think that Turtle WoW did more changes than what he was thinking about, in my opinion. So here I have the Druid. I'll go to the Druid here, and immediately you can also see different changes. As an example, Resto Tree, the bottom talent is Tree of Life. The capstone talent for Druid for Season of Discovery is Swiftman. Same thing that we've been knowing, right? If you look at Moonkin form, I think the Moonkin forms are different, but the Season of Discovery Moonkin form increases your armor contribution by 360. All the party members get a 3% crit buff, and Moonkins can only cast balance spells. But if we look here, I think it's the same thing, except they added the fact that the mana cost on Moonfire, Starfire, and Wrath are reduced by 20%. Everything else is pretty much the same here. Polymorph Freeing, the armor contribution, the spell crit party chance. That's the same. But adding that mana cost fundamentally changes Boomkin. One of the things that not just Boomkins face, but a lot of the hybrid DPS specs face is mana. They really have a problem with mana because they can't regenerate it, and their spells cost a lot of mana. The only way to regen mana is either using a mana pot or a Dark Rune or whatever have you. You get a little bit from Wisdom if you're Alliance, but that's really it. So I think Turtle WoW, like I said in the beginning, is more true to the source material. It doesn't have any wild changes, but there are quality of life changes that are on the same line as Season of Discovery. So if you're going to criticize one, you kind of got to analyze and kind of criticize the other, because a lot of these changes in Turtle WoW don't really exist in Season of Discovery outside of the runes, right? And if you look at This is a list of the total class changes for Paladin. I was using Paladin as an example earlier. I know we're getting Crusader Strike as a rune. They have it innately here, right? Something like that. Readout does, these are all the tuning effects they did for the protection stuff. So I think, again, once again, just to move on from this point, it's if you're gonna analyze that aspect, you got to think Blizzard hasn't changed any talents, any abilities, any baseline class abilities outside. Like, see, runes are different. Runes you can swap in and out, right? If I'm on the Druid track and I take Mango, now I have Mango for as long as this is equipped. Once I remove it, I no longer have Mango, right? So runes are, swapping in and out. They're not baseline. I think if you're going to analyze one, you just got to analyze the other. But I'm going to move on from that topic. I just thought that was the one thing that I disagree with. And it wasn't just Solheim. I've seen that same sentiment from a lot of, like, even my inner circle. Like, they say, yo, this isn't what vanilla is. Priest shouldn't have powered barrier. Horde shouldn't get kings, right? By hunters, right? Alliance shouldn't have Wind Fury, right? So, and I kind of get those things, especially with the Paladin and Shaman things, because those were like real staples to me of vanilla. Like having the Paladin represent the Alliance and the Shaman represent the Horde, and now you kind of just have this melting pot. I can understand that being a little jarring. The same thing with the Kings thing. Like, one side, if both sides gets Kings, then it kind of reduces like, oh, we have Paladins, you have Shamans, we're different. I can understand that. Personally, I don't really see like why people get attached to that so much, especially because once Shamans got implemented in TBC, not Shamans, once Draenei and Blood Elves got implemented in TBC, and you could have Shamans on the Alliance and Paladins on the Horde, it kind of fixed that, and people love TBC, right? People love TBC for better or for worse. A lot of people have that as their number one greatest expansion of all time. So if you liked it then, I don't see what the problem is now, but I get it. TBC isn't vanilla, and I can understand that sentiment at least. But I think the biggest culprit, or I guess the two biggest culprits as to why people are questioning, did Blizzard go too far, and really where the bulk of the concerns are coming from, is really having to do with a lot of the new roles, specifically mage healing and rogue tanking. And I even put up a poll. I think I could find it. Let me see. I even put up a poll that I was asking which new tank are people most excited for. I'll show. Let me see. Community. We'll scroll down here. Keep going. Yeah. Put up a poll. Which class are you most excited to see try as a tank in Discovery? I put Rogue. Who asked for this? Because that's legitimately how I felt. Like, did anyone ask for Rogues to be tanks? And I even kind of went over that briefly in my other streams. Like, all right, we know meta, pardon me, we know Warlock tanking has been memed, even though they can do it. They can do it on certain fights of vanilla. We know Shaman tanking has been memed, even though low-level dungeon Shaman tanking does exist. You can do it. You can do it as a higher level. It's definitely a lot more challenging. You can do it. I'd probably say the buck stops at rating. Probably upper Blackrock Spire, whatever the 10-man. Either upper or low. I think lower is the 10-man. But it has been done before. But rogue tanking has not been done before. The only way a rogue tanks is if the tank dies and the rogue is next on threat and he pops evasion and he's a tank while he's not getting hit for those 15 or 10 seconds, however long evasion lasts. So that was jarring. That was shock number one. Shock number two was most certainly, in my opinion, the mage healer. Like, who really asked for this? Now, I'm excited to see it. I'm not saying Blizzard shouldn't, once in a while roll the dice and trying to kind of test the waters and see where they can implement new things and new roles. Because I think it's very interesting the way they implemented the mage healer. It's strictly through arcane talents, and you have to use the regeneration rune to accomplish what you want to do. So I think it's interesting, but it also asks the question, did we need this for Season of Discovery? And I think that's where the line is drawn. It's like, all right, we have mage healers and rogue tanks now. And for the vanilla purists, that sounds like a whole bunch of bullshit. I can understand that. If you hold vanilla in such a high regard and it's near and dear to your heart, and you've made memories back in 2004, and if you remade those memories or tried to relive those memories in 2019, I can understand looking at rogue tanking and mage healing like, yo, what is this? Does that mean Blizzard shouldn't try anything new? That would be the question that I ask, because while we do have those memories to hold on to, we also have people who've been clamoring, and a lot of those same people care about, being vanilla purists. A lot of those people clamoring about Classic Plus. And my question would be, well, if you wanted Classic Plus and you wanted to be in a vanilla setting, what did you think you were getting? Because one thing that I see a lot of people going over of their version of Classic Plus would be like, oh, changing some of the class abilities, so it's not like warrior, rogue, mage, warlock, and I guess hunter are always the best DPS. They want a mix up. But then when Blizzard does that, you say you don't want it. So I would honestly ask a person who has that sentiment of, we want Classic Plus, we want to see change, we want to see change in some of the meme specs, but we don't want it this way. Well, how would you implement it? I think I was watching Stay Safe Gaming, and he had a really good video on his concerns about Season of Discovery, and part of that was him thinking Classic Plus was coming. And I gotta say that when this got first announced, I definitely thought it was going to be Classic Plus. I didn't think it was going to be called Season of Discovery, so that kind of came from left field for me. But after watching his video, again, I can understand you thinking you're going to get one thing, you have it in your head. This is the kind of thing that I'm projecting that we're going to get, and you not getting that completely. I can understand that, right? If you think that Boomkins are going to be buffed in a subtle way, like kind of what Turtle WoW did, where they reduced the mana cost of all of their attacking abilities, and you not get that, and now you just get, let me go to Druid because we're talking about Boomkin. You get Fury or Stormwitch, which essentially does the same thing, kind of. It removes the mana cost by 100%, which is a little strong in my opinion, but it kind of does the same thing that the Turtle WoW thing does. It just fixes the mana problem that Boomkins faced. But this might be looked at as an egregious attempt. So I would say, just to move off from this topic, I would say, or ask to anyone who wanted Classic WoW but considered themselves a vanilla purist and like the essence of vanilla and think Blizzard has gone too far, what would be your version of Classic Plus to be implemented? Because as far as I can tell here, even though I agree with the sentiment that mage healing and rogue tanking kind of did come from left field, in my opinion. I don't think I would have ever guessed a rogue to tank if that was, like, if someone said, hey, what do you think is one of the features that's going to be in Season of Discovery? Rogue tanking isn't in my top 5, to be quite honest with you. But so I do think that did come from left field, so did mage healing. I would ask, though, for people criticizing the rune system, what would you do? Because once again, I'm going to harp on this point. Blizzard didn't change talents. They didn't do any class tuning. They didn't give any new classes, any new baseline abilities. Like runes, I guess you can consider them baseline, but again, every class got runes, and these are abilities that aren't unheard of. What would you consider for Classic Plus? Would you just want to buff, Elemental a little bit because it's been underperforming in vanilla and in 2019 and in hardcore? Would you want to, what would you do? Because I feel like what the rune system does, it's kind of the safest ground for Blizzard to take. It's interchangeable customization you can do to your characters that give them power, but it's still restrictive enough because a lot of the buffs only work in parties, so it's still kind of giving that vanilla feel. It's restrictive enough to me that it kind of works on its own, because like I said, I know we're getting more, but you're still only getting, at the beginning at the very least, you're only getting 3 rune slots. It's not like you can have all of these equipped at the same time and then all of the hand ones equipped at the same time and then all of the leg ones equipped. And even when we do get more rune slots, when you have the options of cloak and belt and boots and stuff like that, you're still only limited to whatever rune goes on that slot and whatever rune list that you have to work with, right? Looking at the chest, I only have to work with these 4. There's nothing else. And if something else gets added, then it'll be those 5. And depending on what spec you play, further diminishes what you can do. If I'm not a Resto Druid, I don't really think I need Living Seed. You know what I mean? If I'm not a tank, don't really know if I need survival of the fittest. If I'm not a boomkin, don't really think I need Fury or Storm Rage. So you're kind of restrictive in not only slot availability but rune options because of your specs. So I think runes was kind of the safest way. Obviously, there's always a better way to do something, and I think more people would have been more receptive to it if Blizzard did take the Turtle WoW approach, where you're doing small but impactful changes to certain classes. Like, I think we all can agree that the prop paladin needed a taunt. That's kind of baseline, right? I think that needed to happen. And I honestly, I don't even think if people would have been mad if Hand of Reckoning was baseline. I think if Blizzard would have announced that BlizzCon, Hand of Reckoning is now baseline for the protection tree or for paladins in general. You just got to train it. I don't even think people would have batted or not. I think they would have cheered even louder. So certain things Blizzard could have got away with. I think the rune system, mage healing, rogue tanking was a lot to receive, especially when we have other things to compare it to, like Turtle WoW, like Project Ascension, like Hardcore, things of that nature. Cool. Let me just scroll back up here. And I think probably the final thing I'll probably want to touch on is my own concerns for a Season of Discovery, because I don't think it's all, even though I'm really excited for it, I don't think it's all rainbows and sunshine. You know what I mean? I think there are some concerns that I have that I'm waiting to see if they're addressed, but I'll go over them a little bit. So I think the first concern that I probably have is the rune system getting out of control. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the current runes that we have, some of them are really powerful, right? Like, let me go back to the talent calculator and I'll show you. Some of them are really powerful, like Power Word Barrier. Power Word Barrier is a really strong cooldown. And I think I mentioned in my pre-stream that while I don't think it's going to be baseline, like you're not going to always use Power Word Barrier in the leg slot, it does promote, because again, to my knowledge, none of these runes are spec restrictive. You could be Holy, Disc, or Shadow and still have Power Word Barrier. That could come later. That could be something that, we find out once someone gets it. It could say only works in Holy or Discipline, and immediately what I'm about to say becomes moot. But until then, I don't see anything that prevents a Shadow Priest from having Power Word Barrier. And what this leads to is a lot of defensive power coming from one class. And if the raids or whatever the end game content is doesn't match up to how much power we have, I think the rune system can run completely wild and trivialize a lot of things. And I don't think they want that. Part of the reason why I think Blizzard is kind of starting to see that, and thankfully the game isn't out yet, so you can't really say they're nerfing anything, even though it is a nerf. What I'm about to show you, even though it is a nerf, it doesn't feel as bad because the game isn't out. So it's like, hold on, let me find it, because it makes more sense if I'm finding it. Let me see. That's not it. Where is it? Monarch Edition, the future. This one? Is it this one? Let's open it up and find out. Hold on. I'm pretty sure it's this one, though. I should have had this opened up previously. I think it is this one, Warlock. It is perfect. This is the screen I want to talk about. So I think all of these Season of Discovery rune changes, this tuning that they're doing, and this is just to runes, right? This isn't to baseline abilities. At least I'm pretty sure none of this stuff is baseline yet. This is all runes. This tuning is happening because I think Blizzard realized that they gave too much power with runes, and they're trying to bring them in line. Point in case. Let me see. Point in case. Let's go to the Warlock. So Warlocks, and this didn't only just happen to Warlocks, but this is the one that I remember off the top of my head. In meta, your threat now is increased by 50% instead of 100%. And they did the same thing, I want to say, to rogues too. No, not to rogues. They did the same thing to shamans, I believe. Let me double check. Shamanistic Rage, Way of the Earth. Where is it? Why is it not showing it? Yes, there it is. Boom. I'm just blind. 50%. So I think that's in response to honestly probably what they saw at BlizzCon. We saw S-Fan, who was taking on a shaman. He DC'd. He came back and still had threat. And I don't know. Granted, you could say, okay, people saw that he DC'd and he stopped. They all stopped DPS, but I'm pretty sure they didn't stop DPS. I'm pretty sure DPS continued, healing continued, and life went on. But he DC'd and still had threat fine. When he started the fight, he did like 2 GCDs and had threat fine locked in. And threat has always been like a staple for vanilla. Controlling your threat, making sure if you're a tank, making sure you always maintain high threat. If you're a DPS, making sure you're watching your threat meter or giving the tank a chance to maintain threat. So I think they're looking at that and it's like, all right, if shamans and warlocks have a 100% increased threat chance already on top of threat modifiers, they're easily going to be the best tanks for threat because they're going to be able to press 2 buttons and walk away, go make a sandwich, come back and still have threat. So I think that nerf kind of was Blizzard's way of saying, okay, this is something that we kind of got to rein in. And I think this is just a precursor. I think as we get more rune slots of it added to us, as we increase in level, as we get more runes available to us, because I'm sure there's still going to be some pretty impactful ones coming down the line. I think player power is going to scale. Power creep is going to happen so fast that either Blizzard is going to have to nerf it midway through the game, which is not going to feel good to the player base, or they're going to have to buff the content extremely high before the next level ban, so the power that we are getting feels meaningful, which also always doesn't feel great because let's say they did, as an example, using Black Rock Depths. Let's say they did, not Black Rock Depths, Black Fathom Depths. Let's say they buffed the first boss, Lord Aquanus. Let's say they buffed his health by 25% and increased his frostball damage, which would be his auto attack, by 15%. There are definitely going to be guilds that overcome that, but then there's definitely going to be guilds that don't overcome that. So you kind of teeter on a fine line of, is the power creep the problem? Is the raid difficulty the problem? Is it the players are too smart? Like, where is it? So I think Blizzard is kind of trying to figure that out right now, and they only have about 5, maybe 4.5 days to do it. So they're trying to figure it out. But power creep is definitely something that's at the top of my list of concerns. That was the first thing I saw when the first thing I said to myself when I saw that Blizzard said that they were planning to add more rune slots, and then they got data mined. I said, oh, player power creep is going to be outrageous. Gear already provides a lot of power creep. When you have new tiers and the tier set is stronger than the previous tier set, or new trinkets and this trinket is stronger than the previous trinket, that's already innate natural power creep. But then you have runes too, like the power creep for players is going to be crazy. And I think they're going to have to rein some of it back to do control. They did it with Mage. I had mentioned in my Mage stream that the temporal beacon that was added to the Mage healer, the arcane healer, at first it transferred 100% of the arcane damage you dealt as healing. I said, that's way too strong. That's going to get changed immediately. Immediately, that's what I said to myself. Now, of course, it's changed. Now it's only 40% of arcane damage you deal, and your frost and fire damage deal 50% reduced damage. They want Mage to be a healer. They don't want it to be a DPS who can just happen to heal the entire group or heal tanks just as well as a healer. That would be ridiculous. So power creep is definitely my first concern when it comes to Season of Discovery. My second concern is I don't know how PvP is going to work. PvP might look real spooky, pardon me, in Season of Discovery. And that's by virtue of runes too. Now, obviously, I think some classes are going to fare better than others. I think Hunters is going to be a problem, to be quite honest with you, especially in open world. Like, I think Hunters are going to be an absolute problem. And I think Blizzard, again, this is something that's on their radar. We haven't seen too many, PTR data mine changes. We saw a few, but we haven't seen any that really regards PvP. So what I'm saying, not even what I'm saying, but a lot of this is, TBA, to be announced or to be determined until we see it. But I think PvP is going to be quite the difficult journey for certain classes. Now, I'm not a big PvPer, so that part really doesn't affect me too much, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to want to engage in it at some point. And if I'm playing, for lack of a better term, the wrong class, it's not going to feel as fun, right? But lastly, I think this isn't like my final concern, like I only have 3, but this is the one that like the only three that I want to talk about. Let me get a swig of water real quick. Hold on. The level banding. Now, I don't know if I can find it. I really should have had this all pulled up beforehand. But I really want to talk about the comparisons of Season of Discovery, Turtle Wow, and stuff like that. But let me see if I can find it real quick. This was a while ago, but it's still on the classic era. Let me see. Whatever, I'll just talk about it. The level cap system. So Blizzard already announced. Not even we know. Blizzard already announced that the level band would go 25, and I believe it's. You know what? See, I'm guessing. I want to say it's 25, 25, 40, 50, and 60. I believe that's the level bracket, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah. 25, 40, 50, and 60. And they did say at the end that 60. At 60, they would introduce the vanilla raids, Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, so on and so forth. They're probably going to do it the same way that they did with Hardcore, where all of the raids are out and go do them. I can't see Blizzard doing phases I can't see Blizzard doing 4 level caps and then 4 phases or 5 phases after that. However many phases Vanilla had. How many did it have? There was a phase for Molten Core was phase 1. Phase for Blackwing Lair. I think there was a phase for Dire Maul, a phase for ZG, a phase for AQ, and a phase for Nax. I can't see them doing a 9 to 10 phase run for Season of Discovery. So I'm not sure, but I would roll the dice and say Blizzard's probably going to put the raids out there, still keep the attunements intact. Like, you still got to get attuned to Nax and Molten Core and Blackwing Lair. You still got to do all of that stuff. But the raids are going to be out and existing. Now you just got to figure out when do you have the power level within yourself and your raid group to go complete them. I would imagine that that's what they do. So I'm going to run with that idea. But once we get to that point at level 60 where, assumingly so, just going off of what Blizzard had said, we have all of our rune slots open and we have, and at that point, nothing will be new under the sun. You best believe there's going to be guides and locations and discords all surrounding where you can get the runes, what the best runes are, what the best builds are, what the best rune setups are. All of that stuff is going to be free and fair game. So that's not only going to increase the player power, because knowledge definitely is power. It's going to pressure Blizzard to make these raids difficult, because if I have all this power and then I go in there and I, for lack of, like, just me being hyperbolic real quick, and our raid group goes in there and we one-shot every single boss in every single raid up until Nax, that doesn't feel very fun. You know what I mean? Like, power is fun, but challenge is fun too. So Blizzard is really, by adding a lot of this stuff, it's putting a lot of pressure on themselves to add the challenge. They've given us the power. Now we have to find the challenge to use the power for. So I think when you have that balancing act, it's almost like, if you're a writer, it's almost like writing yourself into a corner plot-wise. Like, you've given the main character so much power. It's like, what can you do now that the challenge the main character that the readers are going to actually believe? What can Blizzard do to challenge the player base that's not going to feel, I don't know, that's just not going to feel not important. You know what I mean? So Blizzard, I think, definitely is walking a fine line when it comes to power creep. I think the level banded thing gives them a lot of time, which it was smart, honestly. It was smart from a design standpoint, because if, as an example, the first bracket is level 25, right? I wish I could find it here. I might have to Google it. I really wish I could find it just for a point of reference, but let me see. Let me go back one more. But the first level bracket is 25. And at level 25, every spec has every class has 3 rune slots. Every class has 3 rune slots, and I've gone too far. Every class has 3 rune slots, and we have all the classes intact, right? Blizzard can then look, before they implement the level 40 level band, and say, okay, we did this experiment with the mage healer and the rogue tank thing, and you know what? we might either have to tune them down or tune them up, or maybe even get rid of them for future things because it just didn't work out. I think each level band kind of gives them the wiggle room to test things and then put it in the bank. If it didn't, put it in one pile for things that did work and put it in the other pile for things that didn't work. It's kind of smart because you're kind of buying yourself some time while also prolonging the content that you give out for the player base, right? I don't think the first phase, which is, I'm calling it the Black Fathom Depth phase, I don't think that phase is going to last too terribly long. Level 25 is not a high bracket to get to, right? Like, level 25 is pretty much a cakewalk. Even the gearing process for it probably is pretty easy. Most of the gear that you're going to get that's going to be suitable to you, and I'm only saying this because I don't know what the new items are, but most of the gear that you're going to get that's probably suitable to you comes from quests. World drops, things of that nature, things that's going to be on the auction house. So I think the level 25 bracket is going to be fairly short, in my opinion. I think the 40 bracket might be a little bit. I think the 50 bracket is going to be a little bit, especially if they do things like make what I'm assuming they're going to do at the level 50 bracket, like make, not Scholomance, what's the other one? Strathome and Scholomance. If they make those raids, like there's some things that they can do with the higher level brackets that's going to be great, like making Maradon a raid, making Zul'Farrak a raid, making, I'm trying to think what's another, the Sunken Temple. I think that one's a shoo-in to be a 10-man, to be quite honest with you. But they've bought themselves a lot of time to figure it out before you hit 60, right? So I think it was a smart design plan. Now what they do at that time is left up to them. But I think it was a smart design plan to kind of put the level bands in because it's an easy entryway for new players. It gives you time to figure out what's not working and what is working, and it gives you time to fix it each level bracket. So Blizzard, I think on that front, is playing 4D chess. On the other hand, like I said, I think power creep might be a thing. Not even might, will be a thing. And it just, based on how they play it, what runes we get, things of that nature, is going to play a large effect in how Season of Discovery is received and how it will exist in the future. I still can't find what I was looking for. It's a shame. Yeah, let me see recent news. Maybe it's in the recent news. CMYs, new Druid idols. Let me see if I can find it. That's Kings. It was early. Like, they announced the cycles early. Let's see if I can find it. The interview. Actually, I might have been after this part. Hold on. Let's see. Nope, not this one. Future rune slots. What's this one? I'll find it. I will definitely find it. Not this one. I went over this stuff too. It's the crazy part. Now watch. As soon as I end the stream tonight, Blizzard's gonna post something that's gonna make everything I just said completely invalid, and I'm gonna be mad. Oh, I think I just found it. There we go. Yeah, I did. Perfect. Okay, so I was right. 25, 40, 50, 60. I remember it being like the first one was a 15 level increase, and then the next three were 10 level increases. So I do remember that. So I'm glad I got that correct. But it says developers didn't give specific amount of time, but hinted that it being more than 1 month, maybe 2 months. I think that statement is probably true for the first phase. I don't think phase one is lasting more than 2 months. That's a long time to be stuck at 25. That's a long time to be stuck at 25. So I think that statement is definitely accurate for the first one. I can see even the second one. You can even say level 40 might last, may not make it past a month or two. I could see 50 lasting 3, and 60 is indefinite. Once you hit 60, you're at the end game. But I could see 50 dragging it out to kind of give that epic feel for when 60 gets announced. But I can definitely say, with a fair amount of confidence, I don't think phase one is lasting more than a month. I'd be shocked if phase 2 lasted more than a month. I could see phase 3 lasting more than 2 months just to build up for phase 4. But this goes back to my point of we're gonna have 4 phases, and then at 60 they have already said that they're gonna do some things at 60. I don't think we get 4 leveling phases and then 6 in-game phases. Definitely don't think that. Definitely don't think that. So I think at level 60, all of the raids that we know in vanilla are going to be open with their attunements and free for people to get, and it's up to you to go get them. And there might be even a new raid. Who knows? I don't know. But as far as just going back to the title and the overall scope of the conversation, did Blizzard go too far? I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you why. I think a lot of the changes we did see, like I said, does come from a lot of the community-driven realms. I think Blizzard could have gone further. They could have taken the Turtle WoW route and made innate changes to abilities, to specs, to talent trees, but they chose not to. They just chose to give runes and really tell the players kind of put the pieces in. You have these runes now. You have 16 talent points, at least for the first level cap. You have these 16 talent points. You got to figure it out now. That's, far and wide different than, here's the Paladin tree. We've given them Crusader Strike. We've buffed Judgment. We've buffed Holy Light. We've changed the capstone in the protection tree. Kings is now in the ret tree. All of that stuff is different. So, did Blizzard go too far? In my opinion, no. I still do think there are legitimate concerns in regards to Season of Discovery. To me personally, I don't think those concerns orbit around class fantasy and class identity. Every person is going to have a different feel on class identity. And like I said before, I don't think adding a stun to a certain class, I don't think making it good at single target or making it good at AoE, I don't think any of that stuff changes the class identity, to be quite honest. So I gotta disagree there with the fellow content creators. I don't think any of these changes really fundamentally change the class identity. However, I do see the concerns that can be drawn upon by looking at Season of Discovery. Because if we can get a mage healer, then that means we can get, a Resto Druid DPS. That means we can, hell, in real Classic Plus, in the next season, let's just bring on Evokers in, right? Let's bring in new races. That's another thing Turtle WoW did. They added new races to each faction. They gave High Elves to Alliance. They gave, I think, Ogres to Horde, right? So there's none of that in vanilla. So if you're gonna say Season Discovery is losing its class identity, but Turtle WoW isn't, I think you need to relook at Turtle WoW and see the classes, see the changes that they did. Even though I do think a lot of the changes, like I said before, stick to the source material, I think a lot of them also can be argued that they changed the class fantasy, or class identity, I should say. So, that being said, I want to hear what you guys think. Put it in the comments. Put it in, you can comment on this video. You can comment on any other video that I talk about. How do you feel about Season of Discovery? Did Blizzard go too far? Do you share the same concerns that Blizzard is kind of losing itself and vanilla is losing its identity with all these changes coming? Do you feel like this is a step in the right direction? I might put a poll up too. Put a poll up just saying, is Season of Discovery a step in the right direction for vanilla or a step backwards? Is this too much? Should they have not implemented a mage healer? So it's a lot to think about. But I will say Blizzard got 5 days to do it. But it's going to be an exciting week. Like I said before, I'm going to try to do a piece of content every day, whether it be a stream, video, community post, something just to kind of build the hype for it. Because I am excited about Season of Discovery. I do want to see where it leads. And I am waiting. Actually, before I go, I do want to check something because this is information I couldn't find. So I'm left to assume that it's going to operate the way I think it is. But let me double check real quick. So with the realms, Blizzard has confirmed that they're adding realms are coming this Season of Discovery, like back in 2019 before Classic officially launched. Blah, 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 blah. So basically what I'm trying to figure out is, are the realms that are on Classic era, are they gonna use those same realms for Season of Discovery? Because if they are, then I got a lot of character clearing to do. I have a lot of mid-range level characters that I kind of fake leveled back when I tried to play vanilla in 2019 that I definitely didn't think was I was gonna go back to. I gotta clear all that stuff out. And they've already announced. I don't know if you saw at the top, but they've already announced that they are not doing any name reservations. So I got to jump on quick when the servers launch and get Soul Daddy, lock that in. Don't try to take that from me, y'all. But I want to see. I want to see what the realms are because I don't really know what realm to play on. I do know at this point. I'll probably put it up somewhere too. I am going to be Alliance, unfortunately. I mean, I play Alliance on Wrath, so but I'd rather been Horde. But anyway, I'm going to play Alliance. Gonna figure it out. Gonna figure out what realm I'm going to be on. Gonna lock my name in, and I can't wait to see everybody there. Oh, what's up, Big Bubbles? I'm glad they're implementing it. I really think I mean, that's true. I've seen that sentiment. I think Blizzard. I think this is all a test. I think this is a test to show what they can do for the next go around. I definitely think that. Blizzard is kind of just silently beta testing us to figure out what is acceptable, what the player base liked, what they didn't like, and how to take the next step. I definitely think that. I don't know what that next step is. A lot of people seem to think that, a lot of content creators anyway have announced that they think Classic, like this is like the preseason and then Classic Plus is the real season. I don't fall under that way of thinking. I don't think that this is a lead up to Classic Plus necessarily. I do think that they're going to continue the season motif. Like we had Season of Mastery, which I think kind of fell flat. I think Blizzard kind of knows that. I think Season of Discovery is going to be a better change. I think it's going to be more well received than Season of Mastery. The next season, I have a feeling that they're going to kind of get, unless players really want it, I think they're going to kind of put Vanilla or maybe even TBC in its own direction. Whereas it's like for Vanilla, you kind of know the steps. You hit 60, you get attuned to Molten Core, you get attuned to Blackwing Lair, you do Dire Maul, you get attuned to AQ. You follow the traditional lore steps where you're fighting the same bosses, you're tuning yourself to the same raids. But I think the next step up in that is using the vanilla setting, staying on Azeroth, but completely diverging. New dungeons, new raids, things that we haven't seen before. I think that's coming. I think this is the beta test for something like that. Because it's only but so long that you can kind of recycle the same information, the same content. Blizzard kind of got lucky, in my opinion, because Vanilla Classic launched in 2019, and here we are again in the same world. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's still the same things. Like I used the analogy with Project Ascension. It's WoW, but with a different skin over it, right? Or it's the WoW skin, but different parts in it, different organs, different muscles. Like, I don't know, it's a bad analogy. But anyway, I don't think they're going to recycle Vanilla again. I think they're going to, if they are, they're going to put the same setting, new worlds, new content, like completely new things that we haven't seen before. And I think a hint to that is using Black Fathom Depths. Black Fathom Depths is going to be a new experience. It's the same setting, but it's going to be new bosses, new mechanics, new things of that nature. So I think that's what that is. But that's really it. I can't wait to hear what people think about Season of Discovery. I can't wait to see Season of Discovery launch and play with everybody. If you guys see me out there, I'm going to announce it. I don't know if I'm going to stream when it launches. I feel like everybody and their dog is going to stream, so I might just hold back and like stream that next day and just kind of play on the low. But I'll put it out there like what realm I'm on and what my name is. If you see me, you want to say what's up, pull up. I'm probably, I don't know, I gotta kind of go over this with the people that I'm playing with. But I think we're playing on a PvE realm. I don't think we're playing on a PvP realm. I have to double check, but I think we're playing on a PvE realm. Madman Gaming, what's up? I was just going over Season of Discovery. Pardon me. I think, just to briefly touch on, I think Wrath. I think Wrath has pretty much ran its course for me. I still play it. I still raid with my peoples, but Wrath is pretty much done for me. I know they have the Ruby Sanctum that still has to come out, and I kind of already knew this about Wrath. I played Wrath when it was out. I played it the entirety through. I got my achievements then. So Wrath to me right now is nothing new. I have been playing retail as of late. I've been doing Mythic Plus. I actually just got my my KSM, my Keystone Master, for the new season. Cause I wanted to get that before Season of Discovery came out, because I knew, I knew I wasn't gonna play two at the same time. I wasn't gonna play Season of Discovery and try to grind for KSM simultaneously. So I was like, you know what? Let me just get this out the way. I got it. Got my achievement. Got my mount. Got my rating. I'm good. I'll probably push here and there. I'll probably push higher keys here and there. Might stream a few, but I wanted to get that out the way so I could give my full attention to Season of Discovery. Maybe that's what I'll do. Like one of these days during the week, I'll stream like a baby key, like announce a little BS key on one of my alts, and then I'll stream like a high key on my main. That might be some interesting content. But one announcement I do want to make is this is probably going to come out tomorrow. I am going to do the Paladin and the Druid breakdown. Those are the last two healing specs that I have to do. So I'm going to do a breakdown on that. And I keep getting requests for me to look at Hunter for some reason. So I guess I'm going to break down Hunter at some point this week. I don't know what it is about Hunter that people love, but I keep getting messages and requests, and people like Hunter. So I'll look. I'm not a Hunter main. I've never been a Hunter main. I know a little bit about Hunter, but yeah, I'm not a Hunter main. So I'll overlook it. I'll look at the runes. I'll break it down just like I broke down the tanks, just like I broke down the healers. So we'll break it down. Appreciate that, Madman. So I pretty much stream. I don't have a set stream schedule as of right now, unfortunately, but I want to say I stream probably about 3-4 times a week. Generally speaking, if you look at my community tab on my stream, I announce it before I go live. So like with actually maybe I can show it here real quick. Yeah. So like as an example, this was 10 days ago for my main stream. I announced I did one in the daytime. Normally it's at night, but generally, if I did this one in the daytime just to try to fit it in. That was a busy weekend I had just this past weekend, so I kind of wanted to get something out there. But I'll generally announce what I'm streaming. I'll give the time, and then I'll do it. So even though I don't have a set schedule, you kind of already know when it's coming. I did that for the tank tier list. Yep, I announced the time and then did it. So yeah, I'm working on getting a stream schedule. It's kind of hard because I'm a dad gamer, and when you have 2 kids who can randomly interrupt you at any given moment, it kind of disrupts the stream. So I try to do it at night when they're sleeping. But yeah, I don't have a schedule, but I do announce, hey, I'm gonna go stream at 9 p.m. tonight or 10 p.m. tonight. Be there, and you know. And if you can make it, I appreciate it. If you can't, try to catch it on watch back. It is what it is. But even for streams that I don't have any viewers on, I treat it like a monologue. I treat it like as if a person is going to watch it on the watch back. So I'd always try to give meaningful content regardless to whether people are watching or not. But that is all. But yeah, back to the Hunter thing. Yeah, people really want me to break down Hunter for some reason. And to be quite honest, I'll do a preliminary look real quick. This is by no means me fully breaking this down. Normally when I do a breakdown, you guys know, I analyze all of the runes in each slot. I break down what I think will be the best setup for the level 25 bracket. So for those 16 talent points that you got, what's the best setup for you, depending on the content that you're doing, and we kind of go from there. Hunter's weird though, because like Hunter, it's not just Hunter, but for pure DPS specs, Hunter, Warlocks, Mages, Rogues, it really is tailored to what you're doing. If you're PvPing, you kind of got to take a different setup as a Hunter than if you're in PvE, or if you don't raid, or if you do raid, or whatever have you. I honestly only stream on Twitch. Oh, not Twitch. Whoa. Backtrack. I only stream on YouTube. I want to stream on Twitch. I feel like, Twitch isn't really the market for me because it's kind of hard to break through, right? Like, everybody streams on Twitch, even Kick. I tried to stream on Kick, but YouTube has just been the better outlet for me. So if I do stream, it's 99% gonna be on YouTube because it's just a better outlet for me. I'm a small channel, right? If I'm streaming at the same time as like Scotty J or Sarth or Crix or any one of those guys, it's really hard to kind of get the content out. So I think YouTube is the better, and I think those guys stream on YouTube too. But just for me personally, I think people kind of got accustomed to me streaming on YouTube, so that's why I stick at that. But looking at the hunter, yeah, like it really just depends on what you're doing. Looking at the runes, I know they got Aspect of the Lion, which is the King's rune. They got the Lone Wolf, which you can kind of build to be a melee hunter. They got Master Marksman, which I think just got recently nerfed. This used to be more. I think that used to be like 10% crit chance, increasing your critical strike chance by 10% and reducing the mana cost by 25%. Like some of these abilities or runes, I should say, just look like they're gonna terrorize lower PvP brackets. Having 10% crit chance at level 25 on a hunter, they're gonna demolish somebody before they even touch you. Like, what is a caster gonna do to you? Like a mage outside of polymorph, right? And I'll look at mage too. I'll look at the DPS specs of mage. I only looked at the healer side, but I'll look at the DPS side too. But if you get the drop on a mage and you are just laying into him with shot after shot after shot, he's at half health before he even gets the cast off. So that's why I still think hunters are going to be demons in PvP. Maybe this is why people want me to look at hunter. Like, yeah, they get explosive shots. Yeah, hunters are going to be menaces. They get explosive shot. Let me see. What does that Lone Wolf thing do? All right, so check this out. I'm just going to do a quick one. This is super quick, super improv. I did not plan on doing Hunter real quick, but let's just take a look at Hunter open world PvP runes real quick. If you have Lone Wolf, when you're dealing 15% increased damage with all attacks while you don't have a pet, right? Boom. And then you have Explosive Shot, which we all know what Explosive Shot is. It does a large damage up front, and then it gives you a dot that's like a 2-second dot. Shares a cooldown with Arcane Shot, so you can't lay into somebody, but still, Explosive Shot is tough. Boom. What's the leg rune looks like? Let's see. Flanking Strike, that's like what Survival is on retail. Kill Command, Serpent Spread, Sniper Training. Your shots get, oh, Jesus Christ. Your shots gain 10% additional increased crit chance when you haven't moved for 6 seconds. So here we go. So you're standing still. You get 10% crit from Sniper Training. You get 15% increased damage for not having a pet. And then you just hit somebody with Explosive Shot. They are going to, if they don't die, they're going to be severely hurt at the level 25 bracket if they're not a tank. Like, hunters are going to be a problem. That's crazy. That's crazy. And if you even if you don't get Lone Wolf, if you get Master Marksman, you got 5% crit from here, 10% from here. That's 15% crit. That's a lot of crit at level 25. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna look at Hunter though. We're gonna look at Hunter. I keep getting requests for it. I'm gonna look at Hunter. I'm gonna go through the talent builds and see what I think might be a great fit for endgame, and we go from there. That's really it for the stream, guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you just joined for the live, I appreciate you. If you catch this on the watch back, I appreciate you. Again, I'm going to be doing some kind of content every single day leading up to Season of Discovery. So if you want to catch me on one of these days this week, try to catch it out. But I will be around this week a lot. Big bubbles have I done lock up. I did lock tanking. I definitely did lock tanking. Shaman and lock tanking I did the day after, either the day of, I think it was like the day of the announcement for Season of Discovery. So if you want to check that, go look at my channel, check that stream back. But that was like the first video I did. I didn't do any DPS specs. I have not done any DPS specs. I did all the tanks, and I did most of the healers, and then the Paladin and the Druid healer specs. Resto Druid and Holy Paladin I'll be doing tomorrow. And then that'll be the last two healers I have to do. But I have not done any DPS specs. I keep getting requests for Hunter, so I'm going to do Hunter. And if there's enough for Warlock, I'll do Warlock too. But I'm not much of, normally when I play WoW, DPS is like my second ult. I'll have a tank main, I have like a healer main, and depending on the iteration of WoW, like my third ult is like a DPS tune. Probably more than likely it's to Warlock. On Wrath, it was the same way. My main is my Death Knight. I have an alt Paladin tank. I had an alt Warrior tank. No, actually, that's not true. My first DPS ult was my Shadow Priest, then my Warlock. So, yeah, normally DPS I kind of save for once I get the main and the alt out the way. And it's even like that for retail. Like my main is my Death Knight for keys. Then I have like my Demon Hunter as my secondary tank, which my Demon Hunter actually started as my main, and then I just switched. But I have my Vengeance and my Blood DK as my mains, and then I'm kind of delving into Evoker as my Augmentation Evoker as my ult. So that's kind of what I'm looking like right now. But I have not done DPS lock yet. I don't mind doing it. I did the tank part already, so it's not a far jump to do the DPS specs. But all the tanks are done. I did the speculative tank tier list if you want to check that out and see where I think the tanks will land. And even though now, since they've nerfed the threat generation from shamans and warlocks, I guess it doesn't really change what my original answers were for that particular stream, but look at that with a grain of salt. A lot of things have come out since that stream, so take what you want from that one. But that's all I got. I don't think anyone has any more questions. If you do, let me know. But this Hunter thing is going to be nutty. Hunter's going to be nutty. They got a lot of damage imps. Warrior's going to be a problem too. I see a lot of Warrior videos about how strong Warrior is. And I think with the last tuning pass that they did for the runes, they did change a lot of the Warrior stuff. Before I go, let's take a look at it real quick. Let me see. This one. Let's see. Warrior. Let's see. Consumed by rage. Yeah. So instead of getting 25% increased damage, you get 20%, which is still strong. 20% is still strong. Like, I don't know. That's I don't know what that really does. They did buff Thunderclap though, the Furious Thunder rune, where now it deals 50% increased threat. So they gave this one a threat buff instead of a threat nerf. So I do see a lot though about Warriors being even more of a problem as DPS players. The Warriors were already strong, so that's actually pretty interesting. But that's really it, guys. That's all I got for tonight. As always, y'all have been great. I've been Soul, and I'm out. Peace.